Welcome to the Limit Free Life Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. I bring you tips, advice, and guest stories about creating work you love. Whatever type of career or business you have or want, I want to help you find more meaning, money, and happiness. Now we are live from Hollywood. And thank you so much for being here to listen to me. I am here with the Limit Free Life Show every Wednesday at 1 o'clock at ubngo.com and also streaming live on both YouTube and my Facebook page, Limit Free Life Facebook page. So I am really, really happy to talk to you today. We are on the verge of ending a year and ending a decade, and that to me is really super exciting. I am a planner anyway. I look forward to the holidays, but one of the things I look forward to just as much is New Year's, not for really any other reason, is that I get to press that big giant reset button on my life and the year and the things I'm doing. And I know it's just a mindset that I have and not everybody feels that way, but for me, it is like total fresh start, clean up, the past year and jump into the car on your way to whatever trip it is that this 2020 year is going to bring. So I love that, and I try to get other people to love it as well. So before you turn off and say, oh, I hate that whole New Year's resolution planning thing, that's not what this is going to be about. This is about planning for 2020 and to have a great limit-free, amazing year for yourself in 2020. And I do believe that is best accomplished with a little bit of planning, but that's the last time I'm going to use the word planning because that word is a turnoff. It's a little corporate. It's a little businessy. So I'm going to use the term visioning, and I would love it if you would hang in there with me for the next, 20, 25 minutes talking about coming up with a great vision for 2020 because I think it's going to be a great year, and I think it's going to be a great decade. I'm ready for a new decade. I think there's been a lot that's happened in the last 10 years for me personally and just in the world that I'm ready to let go of. I don't know about you, but it has in some ways been difficult and turbulent and a lot of things. So that said, I have some really distinct processes and ways I go about thinking about the new year every year. And I keep adding to them and taking things out and putting things in and really kind of creating what I feel like is a great, great process to get ready for something new. There are so many ways to do this, and I've looked at a lot of them, and I like to pull together from what different people are doing and what my own coaches are doing. I have a lot of coaches. I have a lot of mastermind groups, and there has been, between me and my clients and me and my own coaches and groups, there has been from the beginning of December, this kind of super cool focus on how to reflect back on 2019 and how to prepare for a great 2020. So I just want to share some of that with you. This will be the last live show of this year because the next two Wednesdays are Christmas and New Year's. So I really want to offer a few ideas for how to get ready for 2020 and how to kind of wrap up 2019 and what to think about when you're reflecting back on it, because I think that's a really important thing. So I'm going to ask you a question that you can think about. And before I get started, I just want to mention I'd love to do this with people. I love to sit down with people either in a VIP day intensive or in a longer term coaching program and go through all of this, specific for your life and your aspirations and your circumstances, and coach and plan and really kind of help you get clear and understand how you're going to be able to get to where you want to go. I have some big savings that I'm offering for people who are interested. They know they're going to be interested in coaching. They want to take advantage now of some savings before the new year comes. And I have some other programs coming up and some different things. I would love it if you would go to my website, limitfreelife.com, and sign up for my newsletter, because if you sign up on my newsletter list, you'll get a lot of content from me. You'll get updates on things that are going on and information And you'll be the first to know about these different programs and things that are coming up that you might want to get involved in for some time during the year. So please do that. Please go to limitfreelife.com, go to my newsletter, sign up. It just takes putting in your name and your email. So thank you so much. And there is a lot going on this year. I'm very excited about the things that I'm going to be offering for people to help improve their careers and lives and businesses and financial situations in the upcoming year. But let's start with this. If you were to look at 2019, because I think it's really important to reflect back on 2019. If you were to look at this year, what would you say about it? What kind of a year was it? If you had to talk about it in terms of like a movie, what would it have been? Would it have been a drama, a romantic comedy? Would it have been a horror story? Would it have been some kind of documentary? What was this year for you when you look back and you think about 2019? When you think about 2019, you think about yourself at the very beginning and think about yourself now. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that you are a wiser person now at the end of 2019 than you were at the beginning of 2019, which is really interesting when you think about it. Just the mere fact that you are probably a wiser person now than you were means a lot happened in that year that actually got you where you grew, you learned, you grew, you evolved, you changed. Probably good things happened and not so good things. Maybe terrible things happened. But in the end, you can at least say that you are most likely a wiser person now than you were at the beginning of the year. So I would love to start this. And if you have a pad of paper and a pencil or a pen or something, a computer in front of you, go ahead and answer some of these questions. It'll really get you reflecting. And that's what this first piece is about. Before we ever think about where we're going to go in 2020, let's reflect on 2019. What would your wise end of 2019 self say to your earlier beginning 2019 self if you could have that opportunity to go back and talk to your earlier 2019 younger self? What advice would you give as this new wiser person? Because I think that's probably advice that you can take into 2020 and to help make that a great year. So start there. What kind of a year was it? If you had to categorize it as a movie, what would your wiser end of year self say to your beginning of the year self? And let's just think about that for a minute. So those two questions are a great way to start this process. So I'm kind of teaching you a process in this show. And I hope you'll take advantage of answering some of these questions because it's helpful. So, okay. That's where you can start. And then I think, as I have said many times, I'd start with gratitude. What is it about 2019 that you can be grateful for? And we probably did this at Thanksgiving. It'd be great to do it again. So some ideas for what are you grateful for in 2019 and why? The why is really important. It isn't all about just, I'm so grateful for my family and I'm so grateful. Why? What is your family doing for you? I mean, what is it about your family that you're grateful for? So answer that why piece because it takes your brain into more depth and more specificity about what you're grateful for, and that's helpful. So what are you grateful for and why? And then I'm going to dip into the negative for a minute. What this year was not satisfying? What dissatisfaction did you have this year, and what impact did that have on who you are and how the year went and where you sit right now? So we're going to look at where you're grateful and why. We're going to look at what are you dissatisfied with, what have you been dissatisfied with, what are you dissatisfied with now, and what is that doing to you? How is that working for you? I would say if you have to, we could reflect back on the year. I could ask you 100 questions to help you reflect back on the year. And trust me, my coaches have asked me about that many. And I've gone through this process over and over in so many ways. And you would think it would get redundant. Actually, it's just really taken me much deeper than I've kind of ever gone before in terms of reflecting on a year. So part of me wants to turn it off and go, okay, done that, but it's actually been really helpful to keep being forced to answer these questions. So But I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go too long. So I'm going to pull out the essence of what I think are the best questions I've been asked, and go ahead and feed those to you right now to help you to sit down and do some planning. So honestly, if you could take this 20, 30 minutes and spend this time answering these questions, you're gonna have a much better framework for moving forward into 2020 successfully. So, and that's my goal, is to help you really move into a more limit-free life, whatever that means for you. And that can take on a lot of meanings. That is a very general term, but is also one that most people aspire to find and have. So, okay, so we got those two questions. Actually, we've got a couple of questions, and we've got the gratitude and dissatisfaction little exercise. I'm going to stop there with questions, and I'm going to ask you to think about, in 2019, pretend it's the end of the year, pretend it's a closet. We're going to clean it up a little bit. So we don't want to take some of the old garbage into 2020. I don't know about you, but I have some bags of, clothes and books and kitchen stuff and all kinds of things they're bagged up and they're ready to go off to a donation center because I'm done with them. And I don't want to take them into 2020. I want some empty drawers or some empty spaces to go into 2020 with, to fill, or to have that space, whatever it is. So let's think in terms of what kind of a cleanup can you do for 2019? And I'm not talking about those kind of things. I'm not talking about actual, physical things. I'm talking about who in your life maybe needs to play a smaller role in your life or needs to be let go altogether. Are there people and relationships that can be cleaned up before we end 2019, going into 2020? Are there thought patterns? Are there beliefs? Are there ideas that are blocking you that we want to let go of, that we want to clean up? So if we imagine having a broom and we're sweeping away parts of our life so that we can clean up 2019, who are the people that might need sweeping? What are the thoughts and ideas or beliefs that needs to be swept away? And maybe what are some of the tasks, some of the things that are in the back of our mind? We're trying to enjoy Christmas parties and things, but in the back of our head, there's like, oh gosh, I hope I don't forget that email and answer that guy about this. So let's make sure that we identify the little loose ends, the little to-dos that we could wrap up in 2019 and just block out some time and get that done. So those things aren't carried with us into 2022 because we've got big plans for 2020 and we don't want all that little stuff getting in our way. So tasks, mental blocks, people, things that might need to be cleaned up. And if you can't think of any, I'm going to give you one that I hope everybody will clean up and get out of their lives in 2019 that you may not have thought about. I don't know if you're familiar with the term imposter syndrome, but it's extremely common. It's extremely common throughout one's life as they elevate themselves and grow and learn and get more education and get more job experience and move up. And, you can have it at the beginning, you can have it in the middle, you can have it at any point in the ladder of your success. So I just want to bring that up. I think most people have probably heard about it, but if you haven't, Google it, imposter syndrome, and you can read about it. It's basically the idea that you believe you aren't who they think you are. You're a fraud. You're showing up for that job interview and you're sitting there across from the person and you're speaking and you're telling them about all your strengths and your skills and your accomplishments and your achievements and why they should hire you. But in the back of your mind, there's a voice saying, oh my gosh, why would they pick you when they, could pick another candidate who's going to be better? Why would they be interested in you when you don't have X, Y, and Z? And so your mind is playing with the idea of maybe you're just a total fraud. You have no business sitting here. You have no business, being a business owner and getting your clients interested in what you have to offer. It shows up all over the place, and it shows up for a lot of people. Even the most successful looking people out there can experience this. And so I just want you to think about that. Where in your life does that imposter syndrome show up? It could even show up in your parenting. It could show up anywhere. And so think about that, because if there's one thing that you want to leave behind in 2019, it would be any kind of imposter syndrome that you might be experiencing. So there are probably things you could think up on your own. I just want to bring that one to your attention because that is not serving you. It's always good to recognize where you might learn more or where you could be better. But imposter syndrome is something else. That's a voice saying that there are other people out there who do what you do and probably do it better, so don't even try. So I just want to mention that, get you thinking a little bit, start ruminating on where that might show up, and let's sweep that one away. Okay. So that's 2019. That's our 2019 cleanup. So let's start thinking about, we want to think about what went right in 2019, but we really want to get ready for 2020. So, okay, 2019, we've cleared some things. We're ready. We've got a clean slate. We've got a cleaned out closet. Where are we going to go next? This is a new decade. This is a new year. This is exciting. And I was just doing this work with a group, and one person said, I hate New Year's. It's like the holidays are over. It just kind of goes flat. It's like a dead period, and I don't enjoy it at all. I don't look forward to it. A little hard for me to understand because to me, it's like, it is a fun time. It's a fun time to just look ahead, and you've got, the wide open spaces, and you can go in so many directions. But I get it. It's not that perspective isn't everyone's perspective. But I would ask you to try, if it's not your perspective, to be excited about the new year. What can you do to try to get that perspective? Because, it's a great time and you don't want to miss the opportunity to take advantage of planning and getting excited. I mean, why miss any opportunity to be excited about things and feel passionate about something and just, let that positive energy take over. We don't want to miss those opportunities. So here's my suggestion for 2020 planning. Again, we could go a lot of ways with this. We could talk about it all day. We could sit down and roll our sleeves up and get some big calendars and some paper and just really spend a lot of time. I'm going to try to condense it down, boil it down to a few of the key pieces that I think if you've got these key pieces, you've got it. You're golden. However you end up laying it out or fleshing it out, it's all good. But these are the key pieces that you can't do a great job without, and it's really what you need to take off and do it on your own. So I want to mention another concept. You probably know it. Again, we don't really know where it came from. A lot of people thought Stephen Covey had come up with it, but I think it was actually, that's still a mystery as to who originated this. But something where I just call it the big rocks. And I'm calling it the big rocks concept because I can't remember what else people call it. So imagine this. Imagine you have a mason jar, a little mason jar, and you have several big rocks sitting on the table. These big rocks represent your big ideas, your big areas of focus, the things that you really, gosh, if you could accomplish those things, you will feel amazing at the end of the year. They mean the most, these big rocks, in terms of moving you forward with whatever you want. Then you've got a little pile of pebbles, and then you've got a bigger pile of sand. Okay? The pebbles and the sand are the little things. They're the things that show up, the emergencies, the urgent things, the mundane things, the little stuff that you end up spending your time with that you don't really mean to spend your time doing. And somehow that's suddenly your day is gone and you're like, wow, I was on social media. I've sent some emails. I did some laundry. I don't know, it's all the little things. But it didn't actually move the needle for you. It didn't get you closer to your vision. It was stuff. It was busy work. Some of it was administrative. Some of it needed to get done, whether or not it needed to get done that minute. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. It's the stuff. And here's what happens. If you take that mason jar, you can find these videos too on YouTube. Take the mason jar, fill it with some of the sand. Well, fill it with all the sand. Fill it with all the pebbles and see how many of those big rocks you can actually fit in that mason jar. Maybe you've got 4 big rocks, 4 big areas of focus for your year. I'd say by the time the sand and the pebbles are in there, you have room for about 2 rocks. Okay. What if you empty the mason jar, You put the rocks in first. So let's assume that all 4 or 5 big rocks fit in that mason jar, as long as there's nothing else in it. So you put those in first, and then you can pour in some of the pebbles, you can pour in some of the sand, and it just filters between the rocks, and boom. You've got the big things, the most important things, and then you've got a lot of the other stuff that you need to do. But those important things are all in there. And that's kind of the illustration of how you want to look at planning your year. You want to figure out what those big rocks are, and you want to fit those in first. You want to get them on the calendar. You want to schedule things around them. You want them to be your focus. You want to put what those are in front of you on a poster board or on your screensaver on your phone, whatever it is, where you will see it daily. And you will focus on it, and you will remind yourself, because you will forget. You will forget what your big rocks are, even though they are the most important things. You'll forget to pay attention to them. When the day gets busy and you're getting all kinds of urgent calls and emails and people need you and stuff's happening, you will forget, oh gosh, I need to focus on this big project. So that is a concept that is really important, and you have to be very conscious about it. It doesn't happen automatically. Given that, okay, I was putting this together in a blog, actually, and I was thinking, wow, these are big things. Like, first of all, figuring out what those big rocks should be is a whole exercise in itself. But those big rocks, the point of them is to get you closer to a particular vision. So now that we have the big rocks concept, let's back up a notch and let's go and see the pieces of the planning puzzle to make 2020 great. Starts with a vision. So this is really a visioning exercise, and we want to sit down and visualize what we want this year to be about. Who do we want to be at the end of 2020? If we're sitting in January of 2021 looking back, who are we? How did we grow? What kind of a person are we now? What do we now know that we didn't know? What are we now doing that we weren't doing? What money are we making that we weren't making? Who are we at the end of 2020? And along the way, what happened? What is the vision for the year? So only you can know what your vision is. There is no right or wrong here. There's not a vision that is about, it's not your vision if you're saying, yeah, I'm going to do these things so that I can please my parents or so that my husband or wife is happy. I mean, that's a component of it, but your vision should be your vision. What will make you feel the freest, the most accomplished, the most creative, whatever it is that you need in your life, what is that vision that's going to get you there? Okay, so start with the vision. Write that out, think it through, create a picture around it, whatever it takes for you to feel it and for you to connect with it. So you've got your vision. After the vision, we want to make sure, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, so I'm sorry, but you want to have your compelling why. Why does it matter if you create that vision? Why does it matter if you accomplish the things that are in that vision that you're visualizing right now? Why does it matter? Will it help you to take care of your children? Will it help you to, live the life of adventure that you want? Will it help you to give back to society in a way that matters to you? How is it fulfilling? How is it meaningful? How does it get you to a place you want to be? How does it, offer you new opportunities that feel amazing to you? What is it? Why? What is the big why behind doing this? Because that is the motivator. You can have the big vision, but it's going to take some work. And why are you going to be motivated to get up and, hit those big rocks? You've got to have a compelling why. And I think some of that why, this is my own personal opinion, I think some of that why has to be about you. So if, a big part of my why is helping people to create work they love, helping them to get clear and identify what it is out there that they can do for work that is going to juice them up and get them excited, get them making the money they want to make, feel like purposeful in their life and make them happy, make it feel not like work. That is a great why to help people in that way, but I think you also need a personal why. I also want to do this because I want I want to be able to go on amazing vacations. I want to be able to provide in the way I want for my kids and my family. So those are a little more personal. You might feel a little selfish, but I think you need a combination of things to create a compelling enough why, including some things for yourself. So be a little self-indulgent, give back to the world, but also find that why that's going to get you up in the morning or get you working when you don't feel like it. Get you doing tasks you don't necessarily feel like doing because they're going to get you closer to that vision. Couple of more things. A lot of this is about feelings. So you need to know how you want to feel at the end of the year. And I do this work with people. It takes a little while to get below the surface feelings. Oh, I want to be joyful. I want to be happy. That's a surface feeling. It's a great feeling, but there's a lot under it. And to get to the actual feeling word that will drive you, that you can use as a filter, as a guidepost, so that when you're making a decision, you can say, is that going to make me feel that way or not? Because that's how I want to feel. So we've got vision. We've got a compelling why. We've got the feelings that you want. Danielle Laporte calls these your core desired feelings. I love that. And I do her work every year to figure out what my new core desired feelings are. I'm doing that right now. Then you want to identify from all of that, identify your big rocks. So what are those big rocks that are going to get you toward that, able to accomplish those visions or that vision? And from there, you can go down into the practical stuff, the tactics, the tasks, the actions that you need to take to make those big rock projects happen. That's where you can, pull the calendar out and say, this is what I'm doing on these days to make this happen. Can't really do the tactics very easily if you haven't done those other foundational pieces. Can't really figure out the big rocks that easily if you don't know what your vision is. Can't really figure out how you're going to accomplish the vision if you don't really know what your why is. So those are the parts of this puzzle. You get those 5 things done: vision, why, knowing how you want to feel, the big rocks, identifying those, and figuring out some tactics, and boom, you've got yourself a pretty magnificent plan for 2020 to really move forward. And then, of course, you need to implement the plan. So that's another story. That's another day. That's a coaching experience if you want help with that. So I'm going to wrap on that because I think it's a lot, but I think it's super fun. So let yourself play. Let yourself think and dream and imagine what you could set up for yourself and really do this. And, all of these are rather big deals to figure out. And if you want help with that, I love to do this. This is what a lot of my coaching is about. So you can contact me. You can contact me via email, Michelle, 2 L's, @limitfreelife.com. Go to my website, sign up for my newsletter. I'll send you information on things like this and ways to get in touch with me. I also have I've been telling people through my newsletter actually about an event that I go to in every January called Level Up Live. And that is with some of my mentors. And it's a great event if you want to, especially if you're a business owner. It's really geared toward successful, already going, businesses. And but if you have an interest in that, it is a great planning. You'll create a blueprint for the year. It's a great event. Always has phenomenal speakers. Frankly, I go as much for the speakers as anything because I've never heard better speakers than I have at that event. So I have one free ticket. So let me know. I have not given it away yet. I will be giving it away to some business owner who would like to level up in 2020 and plan out the year. So if you might be interested in that, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. And I guess that's it. So I will not see you or talk to you again in 2019. Make it a great, great holiday. Have a wonderful end of the year and do some of this reflecting. And I wish you all the best in 2020. I'll be there to support and help, and I hope you'll continue to listen to the podcast, and we'll try to step that up in 2022. It's been a great year. I've had some great guests and some great shows, and looking forward to going even bigger with that. So once again, thank you for being here, and have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Welcome to the Limit Free Life Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. I bring you tips, advice, and guest stories about creating work you love, whatever type of career or business you have or want.